As you left the building, Baxter was quiet. He must have had something on his mind. He lifted his face to the twilit sky, then met your eyes.
Well, we've had our fun, and the day is getting short on time. I suppose we could return to the neighborhood now.
That was a question, not a statement. Baxter touched his chin in contemplation. He hadn't struck you as altogether thrilled by the idea, and coincidentally said that exact thing out loud.
To be honest.
To tell the truth, I'd be disappointed to go home. Would it be asking too much for this to last a little while longer? I'm not sure about you, but after the thrill of our bowling match, I've become rather hungry. Could I treat you to dinner? Or at least we could attend a meal together.
This is feeling a lot like a date, man. All I'm gonna say is this is feeling a lot like a date. Now that Baxter had mentioned it, you realized your stomach was totally empty. You'd been out and about for hours. Yeah, I could eat. The prospect of having more opportunity to hang out lightened Baxter's already chipper mood.
That's excellent.
He furrowed his brow in thought, tapping a forefinger to his cheek. His attention drifted away from you as he cast his mind around for ideas. Something caught his fancy eventually. His eyes narrowed and the corners of his mouth curled upwards.
Perfect.
That could work. It's ideal, even.
His gaze swept back to you and he grinned wholeheartedly.
So far today, we focus on locations which were new to one or both of us. That's all been good fun, but it may be nice to end our little outing on a different note. Perhaps you see where I'm going with this.
He tilted his head playfully, giving his smile even more of a bend. Baxter was nudging you in the right direction.
For our meal, we could go somewhere that's familiar. I'm sure you can think of a suitable place.
Somewhere you'd both been before. Oh, wait. Of course! There was a perfect venue for an evening meal, one he and you were both well familiar with. Stop. Where we first met? I think I might cry. I'm sorry, but like to me that's so freaking romantic. I could cry. Oh, this day. This is dumb, but I think this might actually be one of my favorite moments in the game. In the entire game. Oh, I'm in trouble. The Cypress. The country club where you first met all those years ago. It was exactly the kind of place Baxter would prefer. He beamed, relieved that you'd caught on.
Bravo.
Exactly. If that's agreeable with you as well, I can take us there right now.
Yeah, I'd like that. Having settled on a place to eat, Baxter led you to his car with a spring in his step. The prospect of a jaunt to the Cypress obviously delighted him. You sped towards the general direction of Sunset Bird in the midst of its namesake period of day. The faint wisps of clouds overhead were painted a pale orange. When you pulled up to the country club, the sun was hanging behind the trees which lined the golf courses. You were led out to the recognizable dining area right away by a host, where a table for two was nestled in a quiet corner. He passed you menus and excused himself. A woman in a handsome waistcoat and jacket was beginning to light candles for the coming night. She paused that to attend to the new guests. Good evening. I'll get you water immediately. Is there anything else I can bring?
Good evening to you. One moment. Molly, I'm familiar with their offerings. Would you like to order now?
Yes, please. Good. I love that. I absolutely love when me and my husband go out for dinner. If we've been to the place before and we know what we want, just like, let's just order right away. You don't have to get me drinks. Don't bring me the menu. Just like, let's order right away. It's perfect. I'm glad Molly in game was also like, yes. You'd mentally gone over what you wanted on the drive. Baxter smiled sweetly at the waitress who readied a notepad to take your orders. It got sorted shortly and she too took her leave. After that, there was nothing to do but make yourselves comfortable. It felt nice to have some time to relax. You reclined in your chair, stretching out your legs, and idly peered around. You'd come at a good time. It was the middle of the week and earlier in the evening than many people would go out for dinner. As it was, you had the entire place to yourselves. Is this just me and my husband out for dinner? Like, this is perfect. Baxter shifted into his seat, the wicker creaking quietly. He rested an arm casually over the back of it. The bag with his souvenir was sitting to one side on the table in front of him. He had brought it from the car. He must be intending to open it here. It looked like he was a birthday boy, preparing to unwrap his present at a celebratory meal. You chuckled, imagining that. A soft sigh broke the comfortable silence.
It's a pity it's so quiet. I'd have loved for there to be some music.
He flashed you a lopsided grin.
Or dancing, even. That's asking for too much, I know. However, when I visited the Cypress, either here or home, it's livelier than this. Such a shame, but I suppose they can't have a soiree every night.
Man, which of these do I want to go for? Let's do the top one. At least we were able to dance together last time, right? Baxter dipped his head in agreement, his brown eyes sparkling the color of amber in the sunset.
Understandable.
That's true, that's true. It was certainly a night to remember. I was beyond pleased to see such a good partner in the crowd. And then finding each other again, after all this time. Well, it's nothing short of a miracle.
He threaded his fingers through his hair and laughed softly, as if struck again by the absurdity of it all.
It's times such as these where it feels as though you're close to something magical, wouldn't you say? The fingers of fate, reaching through time, to touch the strings of our lives. It could have so easily never happened. That's what I find strange. A few choices made differently, and we might never have even crossed paths at all.
It's true. At least 2 lifetimes in a row. I never danced with you. There was one whole lifetime I never even met you here. And look at us now. He shuddered dramatically, as if the prospect chilled him despite the summer warmth.
It doesn't bear thinking about.
The serious note to his words was gone in an instant, replaced once more with his usual playful timbre. He struck a thoughtful profile, resting his chin in his hand, and then peeked at you slyly from the corners of his eyes.
You know.
I first saw you standing there on the edge of the dance floor. It was captivating to see someone my age so put together. It can be easy for formal wear to fade into the background of those kinds of events. Everyone looks the same. But you were able to make the style something of your own. You were easily the best-dressed partner going. I was delighted to take your attention as well, if only for one dance.
I'm going to swoon! This is bad for my heart! I'm blushing! Oh gosh, he's too powerful! You felt your face glowing hot in the evening air. You'd forgotten how potent a full-force Baxter beam could be! The Baxter beam! Oh, that's what it is. You cradled your glass of a water in your lap, shy. What were you supposed to say to something like that? Baxter laughed at that, the sound ringing clear as a bell over the empty patio, the grass, and the water as the sun's dying light caught them all. You'd missed this place. It had been too long since your last visit. Excuse me. Your train of thought was interrupted by the sound of the waitress arriving with your food. No, thank you. Thank you. I needed that. 2 steaming plates were placed in front of you, and then you were alone again. Neither you nor Baxter wasted any time tucking in. The food was as good as you remembered, and by all accounts Baxter was content with his choice too. But you didn't necessarily have to eat in perfect silence. You searched for a topic of conversation. God. I didn't really expect for this last question to show up during dinner after he just flirted. Although it's like kind of appropriate in the context of what just happened. I gotta know. Alright, here we go. Do you have a partner? I don't think so, but... His laid-back demeanor sharpened around the edges. His eyes were smiling at you, even if his mouth wasn't. He enjoyed the implications of this question a great deal. I figured he would. If you were asking if he was single, it was probably because you cared about what the answer might be. No, I'm just making conversation over my burger and fries that I'm eating here. Yeah, it's just a conversation. Don't read so much into it, man. His rich brown eyes found yours. Just a couple of brown-eyed people staring into each other's eyes.
I'm unattached. That shouldn't be news to you, though.
That was true enough. Ever since his first introduction to Cove and you when he arrived in Sunset Bird, Baxter had been open about the fact that he was absolutely extremely available. It's just a conversation. I'm not trying to, for personal reasons or anything, ask. Not at all.
So?
And how about you? Is there no special someone in your life at the moment?
I'm not really seeing anyone right now.
Oh, I see.
Sorry if it's embarrassing to talk about. Baxter gave you an amiable smile, completely unfazed. The idea that there might be anything embarrassing about the topic of romance only served to amuse him further.
Of course.
No need to apologize. There's very little you could say that would fluster me. That's not me trying to brag, merely an observation.
That squared pretty well with what you knew about him. It wasn't surprising that someone as outgoing and uninhibited as Baxter would be relatively difficult to knock off balance, though I have heard it is possible to do so.
It does you credit to be worried on my behalf.
That wolfish expression made another appearance.
But I'd say I'm enjoying myself.
That was a relief. You would have hated to have overstepped somehow. But Baxter was right, sometimes this kind of personal stuff could be nice to talk about. He felt confident now that nothing was off the board for the topic. If the look in his eye was anything to go by, he would welcome it. Alright. So, like, who was your first crush? You knew that this question was coming out of the blue, but you were curious, and since you were on the topic of romance anyway, if not now, then when? And besides, Baxter had already reassured you that he wasn't going to be touchy about these kinds of personal questions. He scratched his cheek thoughtfully, trying to recall a memory.
A very interesting question. It can be hard to put an exact date and time to emotions. I'd say that I was a bit of a late bloomer. I didn't develop a soft spot for anyone until I was around 12. Some people I knew had their first crush years before that. But there was another kid who would attend the same dance hall that I did. Though we practiced totally different disciplines. I was naturally there for ballroom. They were a ballet dancer. But that's something of the past. In truth, when it comes to attraction, I find discussion on flames that are still alight to be more worthwhile.
And that was the end of his story, as sparse as it was.
Anyway, that's enough about me. Your turn, Molly.
What do you think?
Has there been someone like that for you? Who did you first feel a connection with?
Frick. Oh god, the last choice. Oh gosh, the last choice. I'm paralyzed. no. I mean, in this playthrough, it was him. It was always him. Oh no. Oh God. Pray for me, everyone. Yeah, I would be far too nervous to tell him that, though. The thought of telling him made your legs feel all wobbly. Who knew what he might think about it? No, it was much better to keep that fact to yourself for now. Baxter's expression remained inquisitive, clearly anticipating some form of response to his question. You'd have to disappoint him on this particular occasion. When you thought about it more specifically... Yeah, I mean, I would have thought about this mystery guy for years if it was actually me. Good-looking guy, asked me to dance, only one I ever danced with at a very special night. Disappeared. It's a Cinderella moment, man. Although me, the player, was this. You cast your mind back to the sight of Baxter in his gray suit, all that time ago. He'd been so unique, so polite, so... charming. Many times since that day, you'd found yourself looking back and wishing you could have spent more time together. You'd resigned yourself to the idea that he'd forever remain a memory. And then, just like that, he'd shown up out of the blue in Sunset Bird. It was almost too incredible to think about. Yet there he was, right in front of you, like you'd been given a second chance. And now to be back in the same place you'd first met. The weight of all those coincidences hit you like a truck. Baxter coughed quietly and you jolted back to yourself. Oops, you'd been getting pretty lost in your own thoughts back there. You tried to look apologetic.
Not to worry. You clearly had a lot on your mind. Forget I asked. I won't press the issue further.
Oh gosh. I wonder how much you got from my face going through, like, all of that. Well, I guess we'll find out at some point. Have you ever dated before? He answered you without missing a beat.
I have. Nothing long-term, you understand. I haven't suffered any tremendous heartache as of yet. Being single comes very naturally to me. And besides, I don't think I'm even old enough for anything to have truly qualified as long-term.
Well.
But I've certainly had some experience, let's put it that way.
He tittered innocently at his apparent double entendre. Mm-hmm. I don't really know what it's like. I've never dated personally.
Well, it's best not to rush into that. And maybe the whole thing isn't to your taste. There'd be nothing wrong with that.
Having said his piece, his expression dimmed and his eyes wandered lazily away. Thank you for telling me.
You're welcome.
Don't mention it. It was a fulfilling discussion, all told. I feel like we know each other a lot better now, wouldn't you say?
His eyes said more than his words did, and both were saying an awful lot. His gaze felt hot on your face. You shyly avoided his eyes. You passed the rest of the meal with idle chatter, exchanging anecdotes and silly stories. Everything was easier with some good food at hand. Yes, quite. Eventually, dinner ended, the dishes were cleared, and the bill sent for. One of the things you discussed was who'd pay. You'd pay for yours, and he'd pay his. It was the fairest that way. It would be split right in half, a team effort. You'd pay for his, and he'd pay for yours. It was a little more fun that way. He'd been willing to cover it, and you accepted the generosity. He was being nice. You insisted on paying the whole bill. It was going to be your treat. I kind of like the idea of me paying for him and him paying for me. That sounds kind of fun, and it's still like we're sharing the bill.
And now...
He reached over to place his hand on the wrapped-up souvenir. It had sat patiently next to his plate for the whole meal.
Exciting.
I've been eagerly awaiting the right opportunity to open this. No time like the present, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I want to see what you think.
And you will.
He pulled the gift squarely in front of him with a great deal of ceremony. as though it were a beautifully wrapped present with an enormous bow on the top. It was generous of him to play pretend. There was certainly nothing fancy about a cheap plastic bag with "Thank you for shopping" printed all down the sides. He closed his eyes, and with tentative fingers reached inside and pulled out the souvenir you'd bought. When he lifted his lids and finally saw it for the first time, his brows raised in appreciation. He turned the necklace over in his hands, appraising it from multiple angles as the warm, dusky glow bathed it in gold. Then he ran the stones gently through his fingers, admiring the way they sparkled in the light.
It's beautiful. And my favorite colors, too.
He grinned at you.
I'll be sure to get a lot of use out of this. It'll have a place of honor in my closet. It's a wonderful gift. I couldn't have chosen better myself. Having a drop of bright California sunshine to brighten up my college dorm is the very thing I needed.
So charming.
I'll be reminded of you every time I look at it. Thank you, Molly.
Oh, gosh. You were bashful at this display of his gratitude, but that was worth it to see him so happy. He gingerly placed the necklace back in the bag.
For safekeeping. I'd be distraught if anything happened to it.
Once the bill came and went, Baxter cleared his throat and made to stand.
Shall we?
You checked around for your belongings and nodded. Yeah, let's go home.
Wonderful.
You headed through the club and out into the parking lot. Night was beginning to fall in earnest. As you settled into the car, you found yourself gazing back at the Cypress. In your head, you thanked it for so many years of fine food and happy memories. It had been a good day, a lifetime of good days. And because of Baxter, it had offered you even more to be grateful for. That meeting was a gift to you from your old friend. The last of the daylight was long gone by the time you finally returned to your neighborhood. Baxter had gone more slowly than when you'd left, content to enjoy the drive, almost as if he was trying to delay the end of your sightseeing trip for a little while longer. You felt the same. It had been a special day in many ways. You sighed, forlorn, as the car pulled onto your street at last. Baxter parked and killed the engine. Then he shifted in the driver's seat, his hand still on the wheel, to face you.
I've really appreciated your company today, Molly. I have to confess, I had an itinerary planned in the event that you declined my invitation. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't want you to feel obligated to humor me so I'm not lonely. I manage perfectly well. But in the end, I'm grateful it didn't come to that. It was infinitely preferable having the chance to spend a few hours in your company.
Thank you.
I don't know if you feel the same, or if you did indeed tag along as a favor to me. Either way, thank you.
Baxter finished his brief speech and released the wheel. He made as if to get out of the car without waiting for a response. Gosh. I was happy to do it. I did want to spend more time. I am glad he invited me, and it was nice to get to know him. I'll do this one. I'm glad you invited me. He glanced back, eyes bright. Baxter was awfully pleased, making no attempts to hide that fact. You realized that he'd really been asking you a question in his own roundabout way. He was hoping you'd enjoyed his being there too. It was nice that you could make him happy with such a simple thing. Baxter cleared his throat and shifted in place. His pretend escape plan hadn't included taking off the seatbelt. He undid it then. Smooth, smooth. You moved to do the same, and the two of you got out of the car into the warm night air. A goodbye was on the tip of your tongue when Baxter's voice gave you pause.
Molly.
You turned to where Baxter stood. Baxter was leaning casually against the hood, one hand in his pants pocket.
Forgive me.
It's been a long day, and I'm sure you're tired of questions at this point. If you'll indulge me a while longer, I did have something else in mind to ask.
That didn't bother you. You smiled to show that. If anything, you'd been the one asking most of the questions. One corner of Baxter's mouth lifted in a crooked half-smile. He stood up properly and he continued.
Thanks. Well, as I must repeat, today has been particularly lovely. All the lovelier for having spent it with you. And I wonder, would it be too forward of me to consider our time together a date?
I was wondering if he was gonna ask that. I was wondering if he was gonna ask that. A beat. You blinked. Wait! A date? Your voice came out a bit squeaky with surprise. Not for the first time today, Baxter had managed to catch you completely off guard. It wasn't lost on him either. But whereas before Baxter might have delighted in getting such a reaction out of you, the expression he gave now was gentle, friendly. How funny, considering the entirely more than friendness of the subject. He ran a hand absent-mindedly through his hair, searching for the most delicate way to put his bluntness.
Have I read the signals wrong? It wasn't the underlying intention when I asked, I assure you. I got the impression of what this may be, or could be, partway through. And if I'm not entirely off, I'd be far more curious to inquire on whether I might consider any future outings together as dates as well.
He edged in closer.
To cut to the chase, I'm asking you out.
Well, this is certainly a lot faster than the other two guys in this game. I'm okay with it.
That is, if you'd like to spend more time with me. And assuming you'd even want to date a man.
I'd be okay with that, yes? I could date a guy. I guess you're comfortable with me? I mean, it'd be this or this. I think I would be just like, why me? I am curious. Why would you want to date me?
I don't like to beat about the bush. It's that simple. I want to take you out on dates because it's easy to see how it'd be a nice time. I like being around you.
A smile tugged at his lips again, recalling the events of the afternoon.
Just today, you showed me around your town. We went bowling together of all things, and it was wonderful. Then we accompanied each other to a fantastic dinner. You made an effort to come to know me better as an individual. And you were even kind enough to present me with a thoughtful gift. I could not have been happier.
By the time he'd finished, Baxter's smile stretched ear to ear.
If you don't feel the same, that's fair. I won't be upset with you.
Of course.
And I'm certainly not intending for this to be a grand romantic overture. Of course, you wouldn't believe me if I was claiming to be your one and only for all time.
He placed a palm to his chest and met your gaze with a crooked smile.
I am nominating myself as a suitor for the season. A charming summer adventure. No more, no less.
I mean, I wouldn't expect more, honestly. Gosh, I can so see a 17-year-old me being like, a fling is so romantic, and then by the end of the summer just bawling her eyes out because I would have fallen so hard and it would have been my first time and all, this is like all bad stuff, but like at 17 I would have been dumb and been like, heck yeah. Me now at 32 is like, this is a bad idea, girl. The first guy you date should not be like a summer fling. Especially if you had like feelings for him for years and stuff. Oh man, this could end so badly. But it's an our life game, so we're fine. We're gonna be fine. Yep, there we go. He made one last attempt to get his idea across.
I don't care about what label you choose to put to it. I could be your boyfriend or nothing at all. And you can also change your mind without consequence if you find out it's not what you imagined further down the line.
I'd be open to doing that. At your words, he beamed at you, his face bright in the darkness.
Lovely.
Thank you. You've already given me so much in my time here. I've been very fortunate to have you as my neighbor. And for now, as something else.
His tone was measured and polite as ever, but you couldn't help but hear an excited edge to the words. As if he were internally bouncing on the balls of his feet with anticipation because he wouldn't do it on the outside. This smile of Baxter's was your favorite. Seeing it, you were already glad to have accepted his offer. On top of your own personal feelings, it was cute to have such an impact on him. Underneath his peculiarities, Baxter was a sweetheart. But once the initial rush had died down, your thoughts drifted to more practical matters. What would you say to people? What would you call this thing between you? You put the question to Baxter, whose eyes lifted up along the edges. Would you care if I told my family or not? My friends are gonna find out for sure, though.
What a delightful first concern. It's up to you how we go about it. If it's not something you feel comfortable talking about, then I wouldn't insist. My preference would be not to treat it as a secret, however. I'm proud to be doing this. But again, I'm a visitor and this is your home. The choice is ultimately yours.
Okay, that's a green flag at least, that he's like, I don't want this to be a secret. If he was like, it could be a secret, I'd be like, that's another red flag. So good. I'm happy about that. We can tell people it's cool. Yeah, let's do we. We can tell people. It's cool.
Excellent. I'll speak casually about it then. My parents are likely to hear the news eventually, though I don't expect you to speak to them.
Oh, alright. Yeah, I'd be like, huh?
Now, as much as it pains me to say, I shouldn't keep you any longer.
I'm here if you need me.
Thank you again for a wonderful day, Molly. If ever you want another, you can call or text me. I'm very able to drop what I'm doing and come see you. Or, alternatively, you're welcome to come by my place whenever it strikes you. I'll be in touch too, though, so don't feel pressure to initiate.
He lifted his hand in a cheery wave, staying put in order to see you head home.
Good night.
Have a good night.
At this, the closing moment of your day together, it struck you how much of an impact he'd had on you in such a short time. You cast your mind back further, to 5 years ago. It was still so surreal to think about. The mysterious boy who had stolen a piece of your heart and vanished without a trace. Not only had he shown up after all this time, but he'd moved into the neighborhood and now you were dating? Sounds like the title of a light novel. The absurdity made your head spin. Your chest ached with a profound emotion that you didn't have a name for. Like you were seeing the beauty and complexity of the universe laid bare. But you could mull over those thoughts another time. It was getting late and he was waiting for you. In your parting moment with Baxter, you... I feel like that might be too much right now. Just a hug. You know what? Thank you for the great day. Let's just... I think this is good. Baxter was initially frozen by your initiative. You'd outpaced even him, but not for long. He wrapped his arms around you to return the hug. Okay, I'm glad we didn't, like, completely shock him with the kiss. He was taller than you. Shock of shocks. One hand came to rest gently on the back of your head as you pressed against his chest. His words came as a rumble.
You're very good.
What, I can be spontaneous sometimes?
I must say, I didn't anticipate that you'd be the one to pull a move on me. and so soon. But it is far from unwelcome.
Though you couldn't see it, you could hear the smile in his voice. Being with him that way was warm and comforting, despite the fact that his shirt felt really stiff. Fashion over comfort with Baxter Alexander Ward. When you finally pulled away, you searched for his face, and sure enough, there it was, as dazzling as the stars.
Well then, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, have a good night, Molly.
Good night, Baxter. Baxter had begun the farewell, yet made no move to leave. He watched you cross the road to your house. You turned on the threshold and waved one last time. The blush! Look at that blush! That familiar grin was the last thing you saw before the door closed behind you. You'd see it again soon enough. It was a strange feeling to be back home after such an eventful afternoon. So much happened in the space of a few short hours, and so much had changed. Of course, where you were right then couldn't be described as without excitement. You were greeted almost immediately by footsteps approaching from the hallway. They're like, spill the tea, Molly! What has happened out there?
Sweetie, you're back! I heard the door open.
Mom's laugh rang out from behind her, out of the pan and into the fire.
No, no, no.
Whoa there! No need to jump on Molly without giving her the chance to take her shoes off. For all we know, it's been a very informative and tiring day.
Ma came up in front of you and Mom appeared over her shoulder. You could see the smirk on Mom's face to go along with the pointed implications in her choice of words. For all that Mom appeared to be tempering Ma's enthusiasm, they were both guilty of speculating what you were up to all day, and now it was their chance to finally find out. While her wife rested a hand to her shoulder, Ma beamed angelically, the picture of innocence. She was the last person to bowl someone over the minute they got home. Honest.
Huh?
What's going on exactly? Your sister's voice drifted over from the couch. Liz had been sitting watching TV, but spun around to see what the commotion was about, her show forgotten. The gang was all there and in only a matter of seconds.
So, how did it go? Did you have a nice time with our new neighbor?
Yeah, Ma, about that. Oh, so that's where you've been all afternoon. Out with a gentleman caller? How charming. Your sister leaned over the back of the couch with a biting grin on her face. She could have given Baxter a run for his money.
Yes, Molly was getting to know Mr. Ward. The rest of us would like to know him as well. Mr. Ward.
I got the deets! Oh god, do I just come right out with it? I would be buzzing. I would be buzzing. I think it would probably just like spill out of me. Baxter asked me out on a date. You couldn't contain it any longer. The words gushed out of your mouth in a confused torrent. Elizabeth's like, Mom's move. There was dead silence. For a moment, your family merely stared at you. Then they opened their mouths in unison. Waywriter family! What? You were afraid this would happen. Everyone started talking at once, demanding to know the specifics. You tried your best to elaborate. I mean, technically he asked me if today was a date. And whether I'd want to have any more of those? I didn't say no, so... You looked down at your lap, feeling painfully awkward. That's what happened. Liz was still entirely taken aback in spite of your reasoning.
What?
He asked you out already? Or retroactively, sideways, asked you out? It doesn't matter. He's been here about 1 day. That's not true. It's been multiple days. Then you've cumulatively... I can't speak anymore. then you've cumulatively spent 1 day worth of hours with him over multiple days. Across from you, Mom snorted with sudden laughter.
I see.
Well, at least we know one thing for sure about our new neighbor. He doesn't waste any time.
She judged him accurately. That's exactly how you describe Baxter.
A hurricane couldn't have swept you off your feet half so fast as that.
Next to her, Ma continued to blink in stunned silence. Of your parents, Ma was usually the one to encourage you to be social and make new connections with people. She basically shoved you out the door to go find out more about the new guy, so this is Ma's fault. Okay? I'm innocent. This is all Ma's doing. The idea that you might get this involved with Baxter hadn't even crossed her mind. Perhaps sensing Ma's hesitance, Liz chimed back up. Teasing aside, congrats, little sister. It's not all on him. You know how to charm a guy. And he's lucky to have you. Thanks for the support.
Well said, Liz. Baxter knows quality when he sees it. Now, hopefully his properness isn't actually just an act. You take care and be safe, kiddo. I hope you have a fun summer.
Well...
And if not, we can always make sure he never sets foot in the state ever again.
Thank you, Mom. I appreciate you. This finally was what jolted your Ma out of her state of shock. She bapped her wife playfully on the arm in rebuke.
Pam...
What did we agree about that kind of shovel talk? We shouldn't resort to threats, especially not about someone Molly cares for.
She smiled sweetly, recovering her buoyant energy somewhat.
And don't have to, regardless. If Baxter did anything wrong in this new relationship you have together, the guilt would eat him alive, I'm sure.
Mom gave another hearty laugh and put an arm around Ma. They were two peas in a pod, the pair of them. Ma faced you fully, apparently more at ease now that the ice had been broken.
Isn't that great?
I agree, sweetheart. Baxter is very fortunate to have the chance to get to know you. Make the most of it, all right? Being able to see you happy is good enough for us.
So mushy! Thanks, everyone.
Of course.
Don't mention it, honey. Thank you for telling us.
In spite of the inevitable ribbing, it felt good to have opened up about that. In their own ways, they all wanted you to know they were on your side, no matter what choice you made. They're a good family. As the night wore on, your moms and Liz ended up chatting amongst themselves, engrossed in the conversation to the point where you were able to slip away unnoticed. On the way upstairs to your room, you found yourself glancing back at the front door, as if to catch another glimpse of Baxter over the street. You really hoped he got what he wanted out of the sights he saw. Sunset Bird was a special place to you. If you were lucky, then maybe Baxter had come to realize that as well. You certainly reached more of an understanding of him one way or another. Yet you were positive there was much still buried underneath the surface. So much more to his character than there had appeared to be at first glance. But you didn't mind. You'd known each other for such a small part of your lives. Of course, a single outing wouldn't be enough to quantify an entire person. What was special was that it might not always be that way. Currently, he was the bowling alley, shiny and new. But someday you might be as familiar with Baxter as you were with the shopping street and the Cypress. That's cute. This day was only a wonderful start. Dang. I can't believe we're already dating. Cove is gonna freak out when we tell him. Terry's gonna freak out. I'm freaking out. What a way to start this guy's route. Fantastic. Gosh. Alright, well. That was sightseeing, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. Next time we'll hang. Until then, I'll see you later.